expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, sitting in shop. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
Reality Radio. Testing 1 2. Obama's legacy. What he's done, how he is perceived in the black community. After 8 years in the White House, not very good. Cornel West stated the black mascot for Wall Street. So, and how he's going to turn that one around. It's going to be a tough trick for Obama. Chaos in Berkeley regarding Milo Yiannopoulos, the gay Jewish immigrant from the UK, who apparently has everybody really, really angry, as well as Gavin McInnes of Fox News beginnings, embryonic stages of his career, now conservative podcaster. Trump says, stop building your settlements over there, building settlements over there in Israel. More fake bullshit. We've got the Super Bowl, the game of his life, Tom Brady, named after America's family, the Brady Bunch. He should have been in that, actually. Maybe they can make a new Brady Bunch. There's somebody who would want to be in the show. Appeals court declines to reinstate travel ban. That and more on today's edition of Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. It is February 5th. It's 10:15 on the East Coast of Night America. And, you know, it's good to have it's good to have a voice here on this platform here, thanks to Jules and her brainstorming her concern, then, of course, led to brainstorming, and then UCY.TV, who was, simulcasting much to my surprise, because I'm like, who the fuck would listen to this? Who the fuck would listen to my program? Anyway, excuse my voice. I was out singing karaoke with some degenerates the other night. No, actually, some really awesome coworkers. Had a good evening out partying with the people that I work with on a daily basis. It was entertaining. It was fun, and of course, I'm always good for some zingers, like flat Earth. Start thinking about it. It's a possibility. Oh, come on, man. Now you've crossed the line. That's just out of this world. You've really lost it. All I'm saying is entertain it, okay? Entertain what we've been told to be impossible. The truth is stranger than fiction. I assure you of that. So, again, the Super Bowl, Trump, goes about this whole, banning of the whole situation, the whole, I'm going to ban this, I'm going to do this. And, of course, he's doing exactly what he said he's going to do, which is making the people that didn't expect him to win, where, really just found a load of fecal matter in their pants when, they either woke up or stayed up to see. I bet most of these people that voted for Hillary and just thought that she was going to win, they just, went to bed. And then they woke up and, it was really a good time for a shower at that point because they just had mounds and mounds of, the Hillary supporters and, the Trump supporters, the full shit. So when they woke up, man, the whole bedroom probably had to be renovated because they just shit themselves when they found out that Donald Trump was the winner of the erection, the American erection, and of course everybody gets fucked with that one. So Super Bowl Sunday. There's Tom Brady standing there, and I'm going to win another one. I'm going to win another one in my life. I'm just so blessed, man. He should just talk like that. It shouldn't even be like his regular voice where he's like, he should be like, he should just talk like a jackass. Like, I'm just the best that ever was. And my linemen just love me. I buy them cars and diamonds and pearls and shit. And, They just block for me, and I throw football in end zone, pay dirt, glory. So, and of course, that's what glory is in America today with a lot of the neutered male population. It's just about sports. Now, I love, you know what I mean? I'm a big hockey fan, love hockey. Think it's probably one of the greatest. Just the action, just the motion. It's like there's hardly a dull moment, but in football, it's always, and baseball, in between pitches. And I mean, it can just go on for hours, but hockey's just kind of, Anyway, going to watch the Super Bowl tonight. I'm going to, I don't know if I'm going to watch the commercials. Some of them are funny. I saw, it probably would not beat, the picture of the cat eating a piece of pizza the other day that I saw that was just a sheer delight. It's so fun. I don't like cats myself. I remember in my family, his wife has like 4 cats, and the kids starve because the cats come first. Which lends a lot to the whole brain parasite thing that Patrick and Clint have spoken about many times on here. Thank you, Clint, for sitting in last week. Patrick Jordan was on. It's always a delight to have those two get together and talk about what's going on, covertly and overtly, and all the things that really, really define what this American corporation is. And a lot of the things that really don't make sense about what's going on, Clint and his research, Patrick and his research, have really kind of have actually connected dots once thought unconnectable, and so it's always a joy. So thanks. We're truly blessed to have 2 individuals, which is probably not a good word to say. Two men like Clint and Patrick out there. Really kind of putting, connecting the dots slowly over time, connecting the dots, and bringing a whole new level of clarity to the insanity and clusterfuck that the global elite families have created. This is their creation. They do what they want with it. You have no constitutional rights. You are a United States citizen, and therefore you waive your constitutional rights, and they didn't really apply to you in the first place because it only applied to George Washington and those whatever you want to call them back then, the blood relatives of the British Empire that kind of built the new world over here. and dominated more and more land. It's not. We do not live. We live in a fantasy land where the founding fathers and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Samuel Adams and Benjamin Franklin, who by all research says that he was a real scumbag. It's just by all research, you find out that this whole American narrative is bullshit. Now, understand fully that, hey, if you're going to be born, if the luck of the draw or whatever the draw is, you become, you're born into the United States corporation, you really kind of have it better than most people around the world. However, our media, the lying, deceptive Zio media will tell you that, things are just awful around the world. You've got it great here. You find out from people that have traveled abroad for numbers of years and stayed in other countries and lived there that it's really not what they're saying that it is. Okay. But understand that the influence that John F. Kennedy spoke about in his, if you listen to the beginning of the program, it's kind of intermixed with me playing the Damien Omen, rock jam over top of his voice, saying that we are what is it? A ruthless conspiracy. Okay, he was really kind of talking about communism, but he also understood that this communism was a concerted effort, and he knew that there were people in the very government of the U.S. that were part of this conspiracy as well, and family members or whatever, just people that have blood oaths to do exactly what they're asked to do. And, of course, not reveal any of the things that they've been asked to do or the things that they know of others and the things that they've done. So this really kind of goes back. It is the mystery religions, the mystery secret societies. Heck, if I could create a secret society, I would. I don't know what it would be called, but I would create the secret society. I would bring individuals in. There would be the council of some of the high priest and priestess. So I wouldn't be labeled a sexist and all kinds of other awful things like they're saying about Trump now, which could be true, but we'll only find out or may never find out. But then, Clinton, of course, Patrick would be at the top of the thing. Jules would be on the panel as well. Jules would be, the highest female member of this secret society, and we would teach, defensive mechanisms and fighting and all. We would teach nutrition and all these different things and what to stay away from, and understand who the people are that are doing the damage and hurting humanity, little babies, and we would fight in a method, a fighting style would be called Shal Kwando, and we would defend the innocent with that. We would be a good secret society, not like these other ones like Skull and Bones and of course the Masons and the Knights of Malta and all these other organizations throughout time that have been designed maybe for the good, but we don't know. We don't know. But there's been a lot of people that have done the studying. But we do know the group of people that are largely involved in a lot of the horrific, the swamp, if you will. And, even though Donald Trump said, hey, listen, we're going to drain the swamp, apparently he drained it right into the Oval Office. And with Goldman Sachs and some of these other guys, Mnuchin. And so Goldman Sachs always seems to be in the mix all the time in every single one of these administrations as far back as we can go. And it's like, come on. you have to understand that. You have to understand that this Goldman Sachs organization is one of those really those points of interest when it comes to the fact that the economy is shit, and Lloyd Blankfein saying that he is that he's doing God's work. What God he's talking about, we haven't really figured out yet. But he's doing God's work, and of course he was also at some point I saw an article where he was diagnosed with cancer, but they don't even talk about that anymore because probably he bought the cure or someone gave it to him or whatever. But maybe we'll see what's going on. Maybe there'll be a report, or you won't hear anything ever again to be like, hey, I wonder what happened to Lloyd Blankfein's cancer diagnosis, and no one will really know, but he'll still be alive and he'll still be doing God's work. And so I saw a really, really incredible documentary, and of course it was on RT.com or Russia Today, where the propaganda and the fake news and everything is coming out of that. And I've got my theories about why the U.S. is why Trump is being called Hitler. Okay, you got to connect the dots here. Why Trump is being called Hitler? Why large portions of the rest of the world look at the U.S. the way that the world looked at Germany? Okay, the way the world looked at Germany in the 1930s. So that is the way. It's moving in that direction. Trump, Hitler, all of these awful things that they're saying, which may be true. You never know. It could be the Muslims this time that are going to be slaughtered in mass. We know that the Christians all around the world, and there have been many, many reports about Christians all over the world being persecuted. ISIS, the proxy armies for the elite bankers over there, of course, Al Qaeda and Al Nusra and and a lot of their operatives like Yasuka Madik, the evil terrorists, and Yalik Madik, a lot of those really, really awful people that the Western media puts out there and says, hey, and there are, but believe me, there are. Whatever you think is happening in the world, whatever you think about the Muslim faith or radical Islam or whatever, you really have to understand that this was really kind of predicted years ago that there would be a war. There would be a war, or the Third World War or whatever would kind of center on the Muslims and Islam. Okay, and this was Albert Pike, the head of the snake when it came to the Freemasonry. He wrote books, Morals and Dogma, I believe it was called. A number of, I could be wrong about that, but he did write a book that really kind of put this out, and there was any number of quotes that surfaced and circled around the whole, First World War, this Second World War, because all these things were planned long in advance. All of these conflicts were planned well in advance, years and years in advance of when they actually started. So, all right, so 8 years ago, you get Barack Obama, and he is, the guy. He's the guy that's going to bring everything to the forefront. He's really going to make. He's going to change the world after the 8 years of George W. Bush and the endless wars and things of that nature. Let me test this 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Testing. 1, 2. Make sure the sound's right. Things have been a little flighty today, audio wise, after the finger exercises this morning. So I have to kind of get that out of my system. on Sunday when I have the platform to do so. So Obama comes in, and he's the first man of color, and which we find out not too many years later through Clint's genealogical research and Genai.com, and even if you go to the DunhamHouse.com, there'll be a tab there where you link in there, and then they'll show you the bloodline lineage Obama has to the first president of the United States Corporation, George Washington. A lot of people are like, oh, really? There's no way that. Well, come on now. CBS News said that he was related to 4 U.S. presidents. They didn't say George Washington because that would be a little bit too close to home. But all you have to do is find it. If you have any questions, I will provide that video to you. And may even tweet it out at some point on the Twitter. And so the bottom line here is that he is related to and all these men that have become the United States president have all been related in some way as well. Okay, but of course you never hear that. You never really truly hear these things because it's an agenda. Okay, it's a 300-400 year agenda, and it's very hard for people to understand that these things take the form that they have, and they think that everything is just everything just kind of happens, and Barack Obama came out of nowhere to become the president. Never mind that George Bush and George H.W. Bush are related to Prince Charles, and they're all related to Vlad the Impaler. It's just never mind that. Never mind that. And the bottom line here is that we look back, we see it in Game of Thrones, we see it in all these different movies and documentaries about the bloodlines and the kings and the queens and the this and the that, and throughout history, King so and so the second, King so and so the third, King so and so the fourth, and in every this is the Game of Thrones, and they control everything. They control everything. Okay, Barack Obama is of the people, the founding fathers of, or the settlers, or the land stealers, the land grabbers, related to the queen and all these other people that they feel as though they have the right to rule over the peasants and the commoners, and that's what we are. We're commoners. We're United States citizens. We have been brought into this label, this so-called prestigious title, but it really does have its downsides, shall we say. But if you really look at Obama, and you see, and the black community sees his presidency as a absolute failure. As I said, you've got Cornel West, Glenn Ford of the Black Agenda Report. Okay, now, then that sounds kind of like, why would they need an agenda? Well, there is a bloodline agenda, which is largely white, but they also have people that are of white by blood, but not by skin. Obama, you guys got guys like Spike Lee, who through Clint's research again has found a lot of these people linked and tied together. Probably Jesse Jackson, who Glenn Ford says the black misleadership, and that's what I've been saying all these years. These guys are in there, and they're just they're fake. They're just a fake help. They are not what they say that they are, and they're not doing what they say that they're doing. They wouldn't be allowed to. So the legend of, years from now, the legend or the legacy of Barack Obama, okay, things that happened that led to Trump and this landslide election. You've got him saying like a near total collapse of the left. I mean, that's really kind of what we're, and I thought for a while back there, and I can be deceived still, that the left, that Hillary was going to win, and that the Republican Party was completely done. You'd never see another conservative or any, not that even means anything. Flattering title, Republican. And so a near total collapse of the left. So I was kind of deceived, because I thought that the left was going to get in there, dominate, and you'd never see another Republican, jackass in there again. But the main thing is, and this is Tarpley, Webster Griffin Tarpley, in the Obama Deception documentary, said that Obama is an agent of Wall Street capital. He's an agent of Wall Street capital. And then what do you hear from the breakdown, the final note of Obama's chorus or symphony? He diligently served the powers of Wall Street and the war industry. Okay? Even though Democrats are supposed to be liberals and not want war, protesting against war and warlike machinations. Okay? So the assault on civil liberties, the kill list, which most people have probably never even heard of, that included the U.S. citizens, the misuse of the Espionage Act, where he said he was going to be completely transparent. Whistleblowers were going to get their say. They were going to be able to be like, hey, I saw this and I saw that, and your mother's a big fatty fat. Okay? So he misused the Espionage Act to prosecute the government whistleblowers. Okay? And we can see that in other documentaries. There's many documentaries on RT that really kind of show what's going on around the world. How Monsanto, how things like John Perkins, who wrote Confessions of an Economic Hitman, how they would go into other countries, buy out, the leadership there, and if the leadership that was in there, kind of went against them, they would be replaced by someone else, right? Like Saddam Hussein replaced the guy that was there before. That was another CIA coup. They're putting Saddam in place. The assault on the civil liberties, including, as I said, that included U.S. citizens. The misuse of the Espionage Act to prosecute government whistleblowers. The passage of 1021 of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, to empower the military to act at a time of crisis as a domestic police force, which basically it's ready, and I was discussing this with a coworker, it's ready, Chicago's ready for the National Guard to go in there because the police cannot control this anymore. The killing is just going on and on. The black on black crime that Obama never, ever spoke about, okay? And then, of course, Rahm Emanuel, Sweetie Pie, Sweetie Cakes Emanuel, gets in there, and he's the mayor now of this city that is basically a failed, you got your failed states, well, you got yourself a failed fucking city there, okay? And he doesn't care. He loves the death. Trust me, because that's what the agenda is. Failure, the NDAA in a whole, but especially at 1021, empower the military to act in a time of crisis, which we are going to see. Trust me on this one. We're going to see this. It's going to happen. It happens no other way. And of course, with Hillary not getting the election, look at all the chaos and the violence and the protests and all the things that have happened. That Trump's a Hitler. You're a Hitler, buddy. And you're a this and you're a that and you're a fascist in this. Fascism's been going on in America forever. It is the United States is a corporation, okay? So fascism built this bitch, okay? Fascism built this thing. All right, so he has furthered the assaults implemented by the Bush administration. So it just kind of kept going. All those things, it was like, all those things that he was saying about Bush, you're a bad guy and we can't have more of this. We got to have hope and change. Because of today, the decision we made today, blah, 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 change has come to America. Change has come to America. Oh, yeah, sure. Sure it has, buddy. Sure it has, pal. I'm your buddy. Who's your pal? Who's your buddy? I am, aren't I? I'm Barack Obama, a.k.a. Barry Dunham, a.k.a. White by Blood, a.k.a. related to the founding fathers of, and the people, not the commoners. That's me. Hi, I'm a commoner. I'm not the people. I have no constitutional rights. All right, so he overthrew the largest. He oversaw the largest. Maybe he saw over the largest transfer of wealth to the 1% ever seen in American history. Okay, of course, he came in right as the Lehman Brothers and the 2008 financial crisis, and then of course the bailout. Which happens if you go back and you read some of these articles of people that are paying attention. You will see that some of these exact same things happen throughout time. And as a president is leaving this particular financial, it all kind of fits together. There's connecting the dots everywhere. Everywhere's you see what I'm saying? Know what I mean? You're connecting the dots here because the same thing. It's a blueprint. It's a blueprint. And of course, I was deceived once again with the thinking that Hillary was going to win. The Republican Party would be dead. Now they're on the rise. And what does Chris Hedges say? Basically, the near total collapse of the left. It's all a little too convenient for me. And now you got Trump with all the anti-Trump people out there protesting for things. The violence, Berkeley. We're looking at Russia again, the Bolshevik type style revolution, where not the people so much hating the leadership, but the global community deciding what was going to happen in a country and then sending their operatives in there like Leon Trotsky or Mr. Bronstein, and you got Lenin and all these other guys. What's happening in America here is similar to, by agenda, through a blueprint, okay, to destabilize economically, to destabilize geopolitically, to destabilize the very goyim that, workers of the world unite, that type of thing. You're being misused. You're being treated badly. You're not being paid enough. What do we hear? The divide of men and women with the so-called wage gap, which has been totally dispelled. The myth is it's bullshit. But what do we have? We have Ashley Judd up there. We have Madonna. These weaponized, they're just not nurturers. Okay, let's say that they're not nurturers. Madonna has always been the culture creation. That's what we see in America over the years. the creation of cultures, the manipulation of the social engineering through the women's liberation, which was steered by the intelligence agencies, segments of it, not everything, but you got your what the heck's her name? She was at the march. She wears shirts. I had an abortion, all that other stuff. Okay, but she says she wears the shirt. I had an abortion. I can't even think of her name. How about fucking one of the worst women on the face of the earth? We'll call her. And then there's a meme there where this little baby girl says. Also, she says, when there's a gun violence, if we have to get rid of guns so that we can save the children while she has abortion. So the little girl in the high chair says, "You did read your T-shirt, didn't you?" So they play every side of the field by saying it's okay to have an abortion for whatever reason. Okay, and hey, listen, I don't give a fuck what you do. You got to answer to your maker whenever. I don't give a fuck what you do. Okay, I don't give a fuck what you do. But don't be asking for other people to pay for it, and don't jump onto some political bandwagon because you think that they're fighting for your fucking rights. You are one of the worst fucking forms of life if you do that. If you let someone grandstand for you, like Obama did when he started the whole thing, when he was getting ready to. I can't even believe 8 years went by that fast. You know, side note, because we weren't having that much fun. And so he, when he goes for his reelection, he's all like, "Oh yeah, you know, you gays are all right with me. You this, or you know, you this group of people, I love you now. You're this, you're that, whatever." And then, of course, if you look at Obama's history, he's got a history of, you know, batting, you know, from the left and the right, not just politically. But again, it's not even an issue. It's about politically lying and saying that you believe that, you know, marriage is, you know, is an institution only between a man and a woman. And then when the time is right, or when you need something, you say that, okay, I changed my mind. Okay, I changed my mind. Okay, that's just really the lowest form of scum. And in addition to other things, but for the people that allow these politicians to grandstand for them, shame on you, you fucking insect. Shame on you, you fucking rotting fucking insect. To let a politician fight for your rights on something. They don't fucking care about you. They don't care about you. They're in the big club. You're not. And they do whatever they have to do. There are exceptions, but understand, you are not the people. So let's see. Again, he oversaw the largest transfer of wealth from the 1% ever seen in American history. Okay. Champion charter schools. You know, this has been a real big topic there, where the schools are so fucking awful. The education is so fucking awful by design, okay, that the whole charter school thing, so they created another market for these maggots to make money off of the commoners, providing what seems to be a better education, but so he championed the charter schools, did nothing to change the institution of mass incarceration. But what did he do at the end? He just started letting people out of prison. He started bringing mass immigration in from the southern border at the very end, or near the end. It was all strategic, or as George Bush says, strategery. So, right. Mass incarceration, did nothing about it. and the failed court system. The prison industrial complex, there's things that really matter in a corporation that has stockholders. The military industrial complex, the political industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the food industrial complex, agriculture. These things they completely, totally control. Of course, healthcare, which who hasn't said, hey, what's up with this Obamacare and these rising premiums? Poor people don't care about other people's premiums, okay? People that are poor that pay maybe $25 a month for Obamacare and think that they're getting health care, they don't really care. And, of course, here we go with the transfer, taking someone else's money and giving it to someone else. And that, I mean, if somebody walk up to me on the street and said, yeah, I just took like $50 from this guy over here, my programming would kick in and I'd be like, I would look and be like, is this guy homeless? Did they look like really bad or something? I would go back. I would go and give the money back to that person. If it was like a Wall Street guy or Lloyd Blankfein, I'd be like, fuck you, I'm taking it, you know? But the bottom line here is that they're stealing your money. They're playing, what is it? Stealing, robbing the rich and giving to the poor. But they're not really robbing and stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. They're stealing from the middle class and then giving it to other people with lower income and, or you could say children of a lesser God, because we always have to pull God into things, and throughout the years, I'm what's this thing, church and state? What's this? And then as you become more and more aware of things, you say, yeah, why do they always bring in God into things? And then you see how it kind of mixes, how they kind of mix together. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pope of the Holy See, when good old Francis stopped over and said, hey, just reminding you that all roads lead to Rome. Make sure you go to church and give them some money so that we can build that Vatican up. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Meanwhile, there's rubble surrounding the entire Vatican, people living in squalor to some extent. But the Vatican gets stronger and stronger. The city-state, the Vatican, the crown, part of the crown corporation. Look it up. Yeah, that's right. Church is a religion. Okay, I just thought you would want to know. That's exactly what the Bible said. Start churches, have a place, send all your money to it, and God will forgive you all your sins, and He'll invite you into the kingdom of heaven when you die. So that's kind of cool, right? You can just buy your way in, right? Sounds wonderful. Failed court system. Is it really a failed court system? When they mass incarcerate and then the prison industrial complex makes incredible amounts of money. They have organizations like Whack and Hut and all these other different ones. If you watch a documentary called The American Drug War, there's two parts. There's American Drug War 1, and then, of course, there's the second one. I've not seen it, but the first one was very powerful, and it was on Showtime, of all places. You can find it right on YouTube, The American Drug War, and then you will see how politics and Washington created another market by incarcerating people, sometimes innocent people. Large sums of money. Trust me. And, of course, the worst form of life that would do that. I mean, of course, you have to have something. You have to have some facility to house people that really can't, mingle amongst the the other commoners, right? Because you don't want really them killing, your taxable sources, right? I am a taxable source. My coworkers are taxable sources. Owner of the company is a taxable source, right? So they just take. And then on top of that, then they hit you with Obamacare, and then the small business, which really is the heart of the middle class, has taken an incredible hit. Now, Trump's saying that he's going to change that. Let's see. I'm cautiously optimistic to see whether he's going to change that around. Whereas NAFTA and all these, he's crushing NAFTA, TTP. Okay, we'll see what's going on. We'll see if this is a renaissance, as Alex Jones would say. This is a renaissance. Of course, he was on. A coworker told me that he was on Joe Rogan, episode 911, and I probably wouldn't have known unless he had told me. But we listened to some of the same podcasts. Bill Burr, he listened to Joe Rogan, and then of course, so it's cool to kind of see that. It was weird, but at the same time, Jones has skeletons in his closet, and of course we've kind of figured out that he is actually part of these families but at the same time, he's really kind of fighting because he knows that America is in its death throes. And he wants to, like anyone, would want to be, standing tall and create whatever. I mean, he created InfoWars and these other organizations apparently to fight tyranny, to fight the globalists, to fight the New World Order. So if you get a chance to take a look, it's actually kind of funny. Alex Jones is more of a comedian. I don't think that he's what's his face, the Bill Hicks. I don't think that he is, but sometimes he's as funny as Bill Hicks was. And so, all right, so back to Slobama, or Barry Dunham, bloodline cousin of Georgie the Wash. All right, what do we got here? He championed the charter schools, did nothing to change. Now, the left has some kind of problem with the charter schools, and I imagine, if I can put it together in my head, that these people can't afford to go there. Like you're providing a bad education here in these public schools, so now there's another tier of school where these kids can go, where they're going to hopefully get a better education, but we can't afford to go there, so that's fucked up. But I could be wrong about that. I really haven't thought that much about it. But I'm sure there was a 60 Minutes, piece on it at some point. All right, so Obama pushed through his disastrous, monstrous, for-profit healthcare system, the equivalent of the bank bailout for the pharmaceutical industrial complex, which in turn crushed the single-payer movement, which everybody was kind of wanted to move toward because it would be easier, if we could kind of compete, insurance companies, different things kind of compete. Now, there are probably 3 organizations out there right now that have the ability to, more affordably kind of do some things, but they are being attacked as well. And of course, you've got Trump, who's going to destroy that, who's going to crush Obamacare. Some say it'll take 3 years to do it. It's been kind of created as you could say it's kind of created as one of these polymorphic computer viruses where if you try to do this, then it'll do that. If you try to do this and there, then it'll do this, and it'll do that. So it would take 3 years to do it. And then Trump's got 1 more year if he makes it, because you got 12,000 tweets calling for the assassination of Donald J. Trump. Okay, so there's always that. Does he make it? What happens? If he does make it, and as I said before, you've got Hillary, the scenario of Hillary winning, boom, she's got carte blanche to do whatever she wants to do. The conservatives and the gun owners just buy more bullets and guns and more storageable food and things like that. And everybody's just kind of like, hey, Madam President, blah, blah, blah. And I want to tell you, Hillary, I don't know what's keeping her alive, but I suspect she's very, very ill. And again, she'll have to when the what is that, the minister of death, what do they call that, like death comes to her door looking for her, she's gonna have to think quick and really kind of put it together and say, why did you do this? Why did you lie and say that you were for the children? Why did you lie and cover for the pedophile rings that were going on? Why? And she'll be like, because I was just doing as I was told. And what made you the most money, and what made you, the flattering title that you think that you are. But again, I think that she's very ill and that she never would have made it. I think that Donald Trump is the president now because that is what the system wanted all along. And so, let's see what we got here. Let's log back into the... So, yes, this was monstrous. Monstrous and disastrous was and is Obamacare. All right? So, we'll see what happens. Obama not only smashed the left, but he humiliated it. Running on hope and change, all he brought was disappointment. Kind of play a clip here in a moment of Glenn Ford. Okay. Cornel West stated Obama may have been our last chance to break from our neoliberal soulcraft. I kind of like that. I kind of like that guy. I like Cornel West. I think that he's got a lot of. I believe that he cares. I really do believe that Cornel West cares. I think that, of course, he's used a little bit by Bill Maher because he's always on Bill Maher's panel, and of course, Bill Maher, he's for no matter who dies, he's for whatever clears the highway up. So, because he's better than everybody else. And of course, Cornel West called Obama the black mascot for Wall Street. Very, very damning, dude. Pow. Uppercut. Down he goes. First executive action was to shut down Guantanamo Bay. Now there's 196 less inmates there, but it still stands, and Trump will keep it open and was quoted saying that he will fill it up with some bad dudes. I want to fill it up with some bad dudes. Obama also chose not to prosecute anyone in the Bush administration. That's because they're all cousins, right? I can prove that. Signed executive order to eradicate torture, but this is not really going to stop because executive orders really largely are just, hey, I'm the president and I order this to kind of happen or start happening. It's not something that is binding to a certain extent, to my knowledge. No punishment for the bankers who just kind of, really. And of course, this was by agenda. But of course, there's no justice for any of the commoners. Okay, the bankers. The bankers would not see any kind of punishment after they really fucked up everything. They just really, truly fucked and screwed the pooch and all those other funny things to say. But then, perhaps, him being an agent of Wall Street Capital and the black mascot for Wall Street, he filled his the swamp with the same ones that he voted to bail out with taxpayer dollars as the junior senator. When Occupy Wall Street triggered the protest in many major cities, Obama labeled them as he labeled the Tea Party, who was called racist and all these other things, when all they wanted people to do is stop fucking stealing from me. Stop fucking stealing from me. Stop fucking taking my shit. Now IO, and this is a lot of these people that kind of started waking up from their slumber, saying, I owe $40,000 now, and that child that was just born, the doctor smacked its ass, that baby owes $40,000 already. Yeah, that's how the corporation works. So they went out and they protested, and then the system, the CNN type media, labeled them as racist. And if you weren't for the universal health care or Obamacare, then you were racist. And just the same thing. They have no argument. They're just stealing from you. They're stealing from you, taking your shit. They're running up in your shit. For those who only understand jive talk. They're running up in your shit. When Baltimore exploded into violence, at this time including like 5 officers, half of them black police officers. Apparently, the man dying in the back of the van, a broken neck or something. Obama's statement was, these people are just criminals and thugs who tore up the place. That's what the president said. These people are criminals and thugs, apparently, and they tore up the place. Foreign policy. He expanded the Bush administration's secret, unaccountable drone war for drone war from a program outside of the war zones. So there were people being droned and killed outside of Libya, which was another proxy war. They figure out ways to do what the empire figures out ways to do what it wants by paying people like you saw in Berkeley. And then saying that, when Gaddafi started fighting back at this paid insurgents, from the proxy wars and the banker armies, then he was strafing his own people, and then from there, the Western media says, "Oh, he's killing his own people. We have to do something." It's that blueprint over and over again, where the media lies for the criminal corporation, the military-industrial complex, so that they can, right? So, but they're not going to get the approval. They didn't get the approval to bomb Syria after the so-called gassing, the poison gassing, because Saddam, I'm sorry, not Saddam, but Syria, Assad, Mr. Assad did not do that, but the enemies of Assad who want them out false flagged them. How can we stir up more? Blah, blah, blah. We'll use gas and kill people, and then we'll say that he did it. We'll say that in the Gulf of Tonkin that we were attacked, and then we'll have a reason to go to war. What did McNamara say in a documentary called "The Fog of War" that you can see on topdocumentaryfilms.com or most likely on YouTube as well? He said, "I think we were attacked that day." Now, when the corporation wants war, the corporation figure out way, start war. Simply said, simply enough. That's how it happens. And they're doing it in our name with our tax dollars, the way it's always been done and the way it always was meant to be. The claim was that only 116 non-combatant civilians were killed across 3 countries. Actually, more than 7 times, or around 800 non-combatant deaths occurred. The administration claimed it had the right to wage war on half the globe to prevent any future acts of international terrorism against the United States by such nations, organizations, or persons. There's that person again. So all Trump's trying to do, and I don't know, I'm just cautiously optimistic. What Trump's doing here is trying to alleviate terrorists from coming into America, which by all measure they're pretty much already here, and building and setting up for the and keep in mind these terrorists are paid by the interest of America. They are paid and funded by the interest of America. Like Turkey was training training ISIS and all that other stuff. It's if you look for the answers, you find them. If you watch Western media, like Charlie Rose and Gayle King and the lovely Laura O'Donnell. Is it Laura O'Donnell? Miss O'Donnell. And if you watch Fox News, unfortunately, they're all about the war. They're all about, they're on kind of on the Trump team mostly, but things are changing. Things are moving in a different direction. Gavin McInnes kind of pointed out a few things about Fox News, the top 10 things about Fox News that, people really didn't understand so much. He pointed out people that he liked there and people that were just kind of shit. So let's take a listen to see if I can find it. Anyway, let me read this first here. This is why Barack Obama is the more effective evil, right? And it's been said a number of times. He can do things that Bush, if McCain had become the president, if Romney, Obama, as a man of color, because the way the world has been set up, the way the world has been manipulated, socially engineered, Obama can get away with more damaging things because he is an agent of Wall Street Capital and he is the black mascot for Wall Street, and he can just get away with shit. It's just like anything. It's just like, as you would imagine. No matter how much evil Barack Obama actually accomplishes during his presidency, people that call themselves leftist insist on dubbing him the lesser evil. Not only is Obama not given proper credit for out-eviling George Bush domestically and internationally, but the first black president is awarded positive grades for his intentions versus the presumed intentions of the Republicans. As the author says, this is psychobabble, not analysis. No left would engage in it. Okay, and then of course we've got this is from that Glenn Ford guy. I'll see if I can post it in the chat room. But it's on Chris Hedges on Contact, and then you'll see Glenn Ford there, and you can watch it. It's actually a really good show. Chris Hedges is there's two things that I disagree with. I think that he's still kind of locked into some of it, but he's coming to a strong realization about things that really are happening. He still buys into the whole global warming thing and would just let any president implement any kind of draconian measures against CO2, which plants breathe in. And when plants and trees breathe in CO2 and become stronger and healthier and what they were ultimately supposed to be, then they provide oxygen, you see. And so then we breathe in oxygen, and then we breathe out, and then they breathe in, and then they breathe out, and then we breathe in. So what they're doing is essentially demonizing nature or demonizing God, from what we've heard from Clint, that God is nature. Nature is God. Everything that we see, we see a tree, we see a beautiful mountain range. That's God. God is nature. The Son of God, or the Word of God. Okay? Jesus was the Word of God. He was the Son, but it's all the way that it's interpreted. And of course, there have been people for a long time purposefully misinterpreting the Bible, religion, and corporation to bring people in so that they can be profitable and basically just kind of brain fuck you into thinking things that are not true, tell you about the kingdom of heaven, and of course always depicting and seeing Jesus on a cross nailed there with all that horrible scene. But it really is a death cult that they're disseminating out to the fucking proletariat. Okay, fuck the Catholic Church, fuck the Jewish churches, fuck all of these religious whatevers. They mean nothing. They were created for no other reason than to just make money, and at the very, very core, deceive and distract and basically fuck your mind into a fucking steaming pile of shit. So, Bar Executive Editor Glenn Ford made the following presentation at the Left Forum. All right, so he said, let me say, I don't even know what it is, but it's better if he says it here. I don't know if I got that. So, let me see if I can find that. And how Obama was sold to us because black people thought, this might be a good thing, that might be a good thing. Wholly, it's just shit. Let's see what he says. Wholly in the beginning. Let me see. Let me just get right to it here.
His ruthless honesty about the Obama administration has made him many enemies, especially among the black bourgeoisie. But he has proven to be as prescient as he is courageous. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks for having me.
So let's look at the 8 years of Barack Obama, our first black president. What has that meant for African Americans?
Well, it means that a black person has grabbed the brass ring or the golden ring, and we've now had 8 years of experience of what that means or does not mean in terms of black America. It's a lesson that was learned at great cost, although I suppose it's a lesson that had to be learned, and I'm speaking of for black people, to understand some of the futilities involved in this duopoly electoral system, which actually selected the black man that we then celebrated having assumed that office.
Has that been a negative? I mean, I've heard you speak about how it's actually damaged the integrity of the African American community vis-a-vis empire and other issues.
Well, sure it has. Black folks are not geniuses. There are no genius people. People are all the same. But we did have one advantage in terms of dealing with this merciless capitalist system and its imperial policy. And that is that our history conditioned us to look with skepticism at power, to not trust whatever power said, to not believe what people in power said, because people in power had always lied about us, and we knew that they would lie about other people, especially people of color. And we knew that people.
So just to add something in there, in the past when I've had conversations with black people, just strangers, just, people, maybe at the Jiffy Lube, I see and I've experienced exactly what he just said because of their history of what they've been through. And, it happened. The people behind why it happened is something that maybe he knows or does not know. But the bottom line is that black people are more instinctively aware that they're being fucked. White people, on the other hand, ultimately don't think that it's happening or that it can happen, which is like pride goeth before a fall.
People in power in the United States were up to no good with their military and their security forces because of the way they treated us. So we were skeptical about U.S. Military adventures abroad. And all of the polls since they've been tracking black folks as a group have shown that black America is the most opposed to U.S. military adventures abroad and the most left-leaning in terms of domestic bread and butter issues. That's a product of our history. But with the ascension of Barack Obama, the first black president, that historical skepticism among black folks, skepticism about power and the uses of power and the intentions and motives of people in power was weakened. And so we saw in 2013, when President Obama was threatening to do an airstrike against Syria, a poll taken about 2 days before he called off that airstrike showed for the first time in history that more black folks, that is a greater proportion of black folks, were in favor of an airstrike against Syria than white people. Now, only a minority of people of all races favored an airstrike against Syria in late August of 2013. But still, more black folks favored than white people. And that had never occurred. So we can see from that and other kinds of evidences that the skepticism that has been part of our progressiveness has been worn away just by virtue of having a black man and his family in the White House.
Cornel West calls him a black mascot for Wall Street. Is that how you would sum up his 8 years?
Well, they're all mascots for Wall Street, and he is black, so yes, commonsensically, he is correct.
Well, what do you think that the policies that he has furthered, austerity, cuts, school closings, etc., the inability to deal with mass incarceration, violent crime in places like Chicago. Again, of course, he goes off to Newtown. It doesn't match his rhetoric. His rhetoric is one of compassion, concern. What has been the consequences of that within the black community?
Obama rhetoric is masterful and really is worth a program in itself, and maybe some linguists should.
This is pretty masterful. This is probably one of the best parts where he describes Obama's speeches at different times throughout his reign of terror, and how he structures how his speeches are structured. This is fascinating.
Study it. It's classic. He will write the first paragraph of his speech directed at his base, which of course includes black folks, full of buzzwords that people associate with progressive politics. And the second paragraph directly following that actually negates the first paragraph. That's the real message, which is directed at his masters, the people he serves at Wall Street, assuring them that I don't really mean it. It's really masterful, and he uses the same formula all the time. President Obama came in with a grand plan. That grand plan included, of course, the grand bargain that he sought to reach with the Republicans for years, and only failed in reaching this grand bargain of austerity with the Republicans because the deep racism in that party and their own institutional imperatives prevented them from agreeing to a grand bargain that was totally in line with their politics. But he came in fact, 2 weeks before he took the oath of office, he told the New York Times and the Washington Post's editorial board that entitlements, meaning Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all of those programs that progressives hold dear, that those programs would be on the chopping block in his administration. So this was his grand plan. First, to secure the drug industry and, of course, the insurance industry and their position in the money stream by passing his Obamacare bill, that is to eliminate the threat of single payer, and then move on directly to an austerity domestic policy, while at the same time opening up new fronts in the international imperial war sphere and introducing the Obama doctrine of humanitarian military intervention. So he had a grand scheme, partially thwarted by the Republicans themselves due to their racism and their imperative in terms of white supremacy being their organizing principle, and how difficult it is even to make peace with a complacent and cooperative black Democrat.
Would you grant that having a black family in the White House has positive symbolic value for African Americans?
I think it is something that we had to go through in order to remove the illusions of what it means to have a black person at the head of a reigning or ruling national party. It is a very painful lesson, but one that we had to experience. There are two currents in black political thought and action that have been there ever since there has been a black polity in the United States. One is self-determinationist, a politics that is progressive, that seeks to transform the world around us, which inevitably means transforming the world for white folks as well. And one that is representationist, that does not seek transformation of society, but only wants to make sure that black people are represented at all levels of the power structure, but is quite comfortable with the power structure. That representationist tendency was fulfilled totally with the election of the first black president.
And we'll come back to that. When we come back, we'll have more from Glenn Ford, executive editor of the Black Agenda Report. On Contact with Chris Hedges. Welcome back to On Contact. We continue our conversation with Glenn Ford, executive editor of the Black Agenda Report. So you talked about, before the break, Obama as a representation of essentially a figure who gave a black face to American corporate capitalism, American imperialism. During his administration, you saw the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, 3.1, mostly people of color, mostly unarmed, are murdered every day, and of course 25% of the world's prison population. Has this created a kind of counter-current? What's happening?
Well, first of all, I think the Black Lives Matter movement was a great surprise. And it was a great surprise to folks on the left. It was a great surprise to those activists still living who'd been involved in the last great mass social movement of the 60s, that this would arise at this time. But at least in hindsight, I think we can see the logic here that black folks saw after 6 years of a black man in the White House that appeals to power were to no avail in terms of changing the basic power relationships that prevailed on the street, which lead to arbitrary killings of black folks in every city and town in the country, and understood that only movement from below stood a chance of altering this situation. And so with Ferguson, we see this second coming after 40 years of having no mass movement. And I don't think that can be separated from the frustration, especially among young people, at the impotence of the black political structures as they are. Even with a racial ally supposedly in the White House to fundamentally change the black condition. It called forth a transformative kind of movement.
You saw figures like Jesse Jackson go to Ferguson and they were booed.
And that was the great first victory of the movement, that it delegitimized these folks who we at Black Agenda Report call the black misleadership class, the class that whose self-imposed mission is to collaborate with the powers that be, a game of positioning that they've been playing forever, but that black folks in general never win.
How would you assess?
All right, so there's more on this guy here, and I think that he understands, or at least he should try to understand, that the Black Lives Matter movement has been largely co-opted by other elements, the Soros element. And having said that, he probably does. He probably understands that. But maybe he's hopeful that any kind of protest or any kind of activity will kind of change things for the better. At the same time, with Black Agenda, it seems like it's kind of, like us against the world type thing. But he definitely makes a lot of great points. He pointed out that Jesse Jackson is an establishment misleader, and he got booed as well as, I believe, Al Sharpton, that carnival barker. And so they're aware, and hopefully there's something that that black people overall do not buy the rhetoric of the United States corporation. I mean, it is largely a deception. The wars, again, are being funded by even if $1 of your taxpayer money goes to even if $1 of your taxpayer money went to what happened in Libya or what happened in Syria, Libya was something that was a lie, and then as a result of that, you had incredible amounts of refugees that could not even live in that area. They were basically NATO and the empire, the banker family system, pushed them out, realizing beforehand that these immigrants, these migrants, these refugees, whatever you want to call them, would head that away. All right? So now you've got Germany, and then what do? What does Merkel do? We have to open our arms to these people. So they say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to cause a big old problem down south here, and then we're going to send everybody, which didn't need to happen. So they didn't need to be forced out of their homes, just like the people that came up from our southern borders because the drug war and the drug cartels and if you look back to El Chapo and all the things that happened there with Sean Penn, the 60 Minutes piece, you've got incredible amounts of people coming up from there because they've turned it into an absolute, just a nightmare in Mexico and in areas of Mexico. And El Chapo, when he was questioned, or I think when Sean Penn, every now and then someone from Hollywood actually does something, might have been stupid on his behalf to get involved in that, but at least he kind of uncovered a few things. El Chapo was just, what kind of economy do they have down there? It's basically a failed state with another leader or misleader at the helm. Whether it was, there have been, as far as I've known, I think even back when Bush, there's probably like 3 presidents or whatever there. The newest guy, I wasn't even paying attention. I didn't even know who he was, and then now of course Trump and this puppet, and don't think I'm fooled by Trump's emergence here. He is let's see. We'll see what he does. But if you look at the violence that that's been taking place, and the timing of the ban or the executive order, it's just all too powder keggy to me. It's almost as if they just want to. They know that it is going to cause. They know that it's going to be unpopular, right? But I don't know. You have to question the timing of it, but hey, I don't think anything can stop what's going to happen. I don't think anything is going to turn the tide or right the ship and the agenda for the United States corporation. They do what they want to do with their creation. And so linking him in with Russia, linking him in with, and of course, they lied about Crimea too. They lied about that entire thing, that the Ukraine was destabilized by the West, by insidious manipulation. Soros was involved to take a situation that was kind of like low-level volatile and then spark it up. They knew exactly, they studied the area, they knew exactly what they had to do, what they could do. They have the money to do whatever they need to do while people starve and people die. You know, billions of dollars being spent to destabilize the Ukraine. And then when Putin came in to protect and solidify what belonged to Russia, then he was the aggressor. And then that's what gets reported to the American proletariat that largely has their heads halfway up their asses. So, and I say that not because of ignorance, but because of the programming, where we will sit back and we will look at a story and then just accept what was said and not question it, and then just start repeating it and say, "Oh, did you see what Russia did, or did you see this? Did you see that?" They have no idea what's going on. Then what do? You have Sunday morning programs. You have 60 Minutes at night where they're doubling down on the propaganda. They're doubling down on the propaganda. Because ultimately, when economically, financially, the world is very unstable, wars begin. Wars. Because what? War's good for the economy. Where has it been over the last 8 years? Not saying that I would be for a war if it would help the economy. But that's how they sell it to people. That's how it's sold to people. And if it's going to give somebody a job, even though it blows the arms and legs off some kid, well, that ain't right. That ain't right. So we're looking at a lot of instability, and they say that I was watching that Judge Janine. God, she's fucking annoying. But I was watching some of it, and they were saying that it will be overturned. That, through her, the magic of law, not God's law, but the man-made law, they will be able to overturn what the Bush appointee, Holcomb, whatever the fuck is Halby, I don't know, said that was unconstitutional and all this other shit. So, of course, the big game tonight between the Falcons and the Pat riots. The Pat riots. What's going on over at Blacklisted News? The fascist regime in Kiev continues to use terrorist techniques to assassinate military commanders fighting for their fledgling Donbass republics. According to Sputnik, Colonel Oleg Anashenko of the Lugansk People's Republic was the latest victim of assassination after his car was blown up. That ain't right. 6 Bundy Ranch gunmen and followers begin trial. With a stroke of the pen, Donald Trump will wave goodbye to the Dodd-Frank Act. The fundamental issue is the existence of the Federal Reserve and our system of dishonest money. That is unlikely to be addressed by Trump, unfortunately. I sure wish the president had gone with John Allison's, formerly of BB&T and Cato at Treasury instead of Goldman alum Mnuchin. It's always going to be Goldman Sachs, which is the swamp. This guy's like totally against whatever Goldman Sachs has been doing all these years. Dodd-Frank should be overhauled, however. It's a real burden on small banks and encourages large banks to become even larger so that they achieve too big to fail status. Just for instance. Some fragrances in the U.S. may be made using urine, antifreeze, and other awful ingredients. How loving. Let's see. Buyer beware. Unscrupulous businesses are passing off urine, antifreeze, and other unpleasant, flammable, or dangerous chemicals that burn when applied to the skin as designer fragrances, according to ABC 7 New York. In the culmination of a 2-year joint undercover operation in Lower Manhattan on Wednesday, the New York Police Department arrested 5 people for allegedly distributing throughout the United States corporation knockoff fragrances designed to resemble popular brands such as Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, Polo, Gucci, Christian Dior, and Juicy Couture. Fucking ridiculous. Federal agents from the U.S. Immigration, Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Division seized more than 10,000 boxes of phony merchandise, which reportedly came through Port Elizabeth to a temporary warehouse in Elizabeth, New Jersey, before they were sent to Queens to be repackaged. Eventually, and we'd imagine heistily, they made their way to a storage facility by the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. So keep on trying to not smell like any other guy or gal, and you might just be wiping somebody's urine all over you. Nah, say. Okay, now that Trump's in office, the media suddenly is concerned with U.S. military killing civilians. Isn't that nice how the worm turns? Not so much concerned with it when Obama's doing his dastardly deeds, but now that Trump's in there, it's a completely different story. Just like Obama, with the same executive order regarding the same countries and banning specific, people from coming in there, right? That never was enforced. There you go. Was created, but never enforced. So it looks like he was doing something with no intention of doing it, just like Ford said when in the beginning of his speeches, he talks to his base, the proletariat, and then in the second part, he reverses all that and conveys to his real masters, okay, his Wall Street masters, Zio masters, to let them understand that he has no intention of doing anything of what he said in that first. That was just for The Goyim. Okay, that was just for the cannon fodder, the boulder dash. The ones that deserve to be ruled over. And love their servitude, by the way, with the collective Munchausen syndrome that we saw during the Million Woman March. For the last 8 years, Peace Prize recipient and ostensible savior of the free world, Barack Obama rained down hell from the sky on brown people across the Middle East. Obama far exceeded his predecessor, George W. Bush, in the use of drone strikes, killing more civilians than ever before and aiding in the creation and growth of worldwide terror. Know what I'm saying there? All right, on top of his warlord president receiving the Peace Prize, in his final days in office, Barack Obama, or Barry Dunham, bloodline cousin of George Washington, was ironically given the Department of Defense Medal for Distinguished Public Service as a token of appreciation for his service as Commander-in-Chief at a farewell ceremony on January 4th. The medal is the highest honorary award at the Department of Defense and is presented by the Secretary of Defense. All right there now. In his last year alone, Obama authorized the United States military to drop more than 26,000 bombs in 7 countries, according to an estimate by the Council on Foreign Relations. During the prior year, the numbers were similar. An estimated 50,000 bombs in only 24 months fell onto houses, churches, schools, and hospitals, all authorized by the recipient of a Nobel Peace Prize, his supporters, as well as the corporate mainstream media. They remained silent. Fast forward to last week, following his predecessor's footsteps, reports from Yemen indicated that as many as 10 women and children were killed in a raid authorized by Donald Trump. During this raid, an 8-year-old granddaughter of Nasser al-Awlaki, who was also daughter of Anwar al-Awlaki and brother to his son, was also killed, right? But he also dined at the White House. If you type in there, Fox News, Anwar al-Awlaki had lunch at the White House. So I think what they were doing when they killed Anwar al-Awlaki was just killing one of their, one of their assets, bruh. It was an asset, man. And, who was also a daughter of Anwar al-Awlaki, who was shot in the neck and died after suffering for 2 hours, according to Nasser al-Awlaki. All right, and then what makes this tragedy of this 8-year-old girl killed by Trump stand out, however, is the fact that Obama killed her older brother and father, who were both United States citizens, who were extrajudicially, say that 10 times on the potty, murdered without trial. As Free Thought Project reported last month, below are just a handful of civilian slaughters that took place under Obama. On July 2016, over 100 civilians were killed in multiple U.S. airstrikes in the town of Manbij, including dozens of civilians were killed by U.S. bombs in Daku, Iraq. The U.S. bombed 2 hospitals in the same month in the same city during operations in Mosul. U.S. officials revealed in November 2016 that the military investigated 257 allegations of civilian casualties and deemed only 31 of them credible, just over 10% of the total. The aforementioned civilian deaths are only during the last 6 months of 2016 and are from Syria only. as Trump now takes the helm. The same media who covered for Obama's slaughtering in the Middle East are now all of a sudden interested in exposing that same slaughter. When Obama approved a CIA drone strike in Yemen that killed al-Awlaki's 16-year-old son, mainstream corporate media was all but silent. The fact that the president ordered a strike on American citizen with no due process and killed his teen son in the process was but a blip on the news cycle, including Fox News. So the bottom line here is that, as I said earlier today, Obama was protected. He is no better than Trump, and we may find out that Trump is no better than Obama and what he did. I know that's like horrific to hear if you're brainwashed and have your head slammed up your rectum. So it's America is being set up to be the next Germany. I read articles on the program within the last 2 or 3 years where basically it said many, many countries around the world see America as, and of course then they really should tie Israel in there too, because we are them and they are us. They see America as the greatest threat. Okay? They see America as the greatest threat. So if that's what they're shooting for, they absolutely have achieved it, to put America as the enemy of the world. And that's what they're saying now. You watch RT yesterday. They met at Malta. Is it Malta's on one of these islands south of Italy, where they're sitting there saying, yes, America. After this, of course, the order to ban these 7 countries. Not Indonesia, which is has the largest Muslim population, and a number of others. But it's hypocrisy. It's just a load of shit. And in addition to that, it's all bullshit, and it is indeed bad for you. Like putting cologne or perfume on that is antifreeze or human urine. So I use oils, which is pretty good. Some musk. I got it at Whole Foods. Smells good. It smells good. I like it when I put it on and I get compliments for it. It's nice. It smells good. Have a great day.
Put the MK scope on ya. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 220 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform shock and awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary. For the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran.